Tensions around the strategic Strait of Hormuz are increasingly drawing in global powers as the ongoing conflict involving Iran threatens one of the most vital energy routes in the world. The narrow maritime corridor linking the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman carries roughly 20% of global oil shipments, making it one of the most important arteries for international energy trade. The crisis unfolding in the region has already caused sharp disruptions to tanker traffic and sent oil prices soaring across global markets. Since late February 2026, the Strait has become a central flashpoint in the broader Iran war, which began after military strikes by the United States and Israel targeted Iranian infrastructure and leadership. Iran responded with retaliatory missile and drone attacks and warnings that vessels belonging to its adversaries would not be allowed to safely pass through the waterway. As attacks on merchant ships increased, tanker traffic through the strait dropped dramatically, leaving more than 100 ships waiting outside the corridor due to security concerns. The disruption has quickly escalated into a global economic concern, prompting diplomatic intervention from major powers, including China. Beijing has urged all sides to de-escalate military operations immediately, warning that prolonged instability could have severe consequences for the global economy and energy security. During a press briefing in Beijing, China's foreign ministry emphasized that the situation in the Strait of Hormuz had already begun to undermine international shipping and global stability. Lin Jian said China is working diplomatically to ease tensions and prevent further disruption to global energy supplies. He said the tensions surrounding the strategic waterway were having widespread consequences. Lin Jian said the situation in the Strait of Hormuz and its surrounding waters has been tense recently, disrupting vital international shipping lanes for goods and energy and undermining peace and stability in the region and worldwide. China, one of the world's largest importers of Middle Eastern oil, has strong economic incentives to maintain stability in the region. Nearly half of China's crude oil imports pass through the Strait of Hormuz, making any disruption to maritime traffic a major concern for Beijing's economy and energy security. Chinese officials confirmed that Beijing is maintaining communication with multiple governments involved in the crisis as part of a diplomatic push to prevent further escalation. Lin Jian said the Chinese side once again calls upon all parties to immediately cease their military action to prevent any further escalation of the current tensions and to avert regional instability from inflicting an even greater impact on global economic development. He added that diplomatic engagement remains ongoing. Lin Jian said, "We are engaged in ongoing communication with all relevant parties regarding the current situation and are committed to promoting its de-escalation and a reduction in tensions." The Strait of Hormuz sits between Iran and Oman and serves as the primary maritime gateway for oil shipments leaving the Persian Gulf. Because of its strategic location, any attempt to disrupt shipping there has immediate consequences for energy markets worldwide. The current crisis erupted following the outbreak of the Iran war in late February, when U.S. and Israeli forces launched strikes against Iranian military infrastructure. Iran retaliated by targeting regional bases and threatening to disrupt international shipping through the strait, triggering what analysts have described as one of the largest disruptions to global energy supply since the 1970s oil crisis. Oil markets reacted quickly to the instability. Brent crude prices surged above $100 per barrel for the first time in several years, reflecting fears that prolonged conflict could significantly reduce global energy supplies. Iranian officials, however, insist that the strait has not been completely closed. According to Tehran, the waterway remains open to neutral shipping, but restricted to countries participating in military action against Iran. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araqi addressed the issue during a televised interview. He said, well, as a matter of fact, the Strait of Hormuz is open. It is only closed to the tankers and ships belonging to our enemies, to those who are attacking us and their allies. Araqi emphasized that vessels belonging to neutral states could still pass through the strait. He said others are free to pass. His remarks underline Iran's attempt to use the strategic choke point as leverage while avoiding a full closure that could provoke wider international intervention. The crisis has also prompted strong reactions from Washington. U.S. President Donald Trump has called on allies and major energy importing nations to help secure the waterway and protect tanker traffic. Trump has argued that countries benefiting most from oil transported through the strait should contribute to its security. He said, why are we maintaining the Hormuz Strait when it's really there for China and many other countries? Why aren't they doing it? The president said the United States has borne the burden of protecting the waterway for years. He said they should come in In my opinion, it never made sense for years. Trump has suggested that international partners should join a coalition aimed at escorting oil tankers through the strait and preventing further attacks on commercial shipping. According to U.S. officials, Washington has already begun discussions with approximately 7 countries about contributing military forces to such an effort. The administration is reportedly exploring a range of options, including naval escorts for tankers passing through the strait. While no escort missions have yet been launched, the possibility remains under active consideration as the crisis continues to evolve. The situation has also begun affecting diplomatic relations between the United States and China. President Trump recently suggested that he might delay a planned visit to Beijing unless China plays a more active role in stabilizing the Strait of Hormuz. The proposed trip, expected to take place at the end of March, was intended to serve as a key meeting between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. However, the escalating Middle East crisis has complicated the diplomatic agenda. Despite the uncertainty, Chinese officials say both sides remain in communication regarding the planned summit. Lin Jian emphasized the importance of leadership-level diplomacy in maintaining stable relations between the two powers. Lin Jian said head of state diplomacy plays an irreplaceable strategic guiding role in the relationship between China and the United States. Chinese officials have continued to stress that Beijing's approach to the crisis is focused on diplomacy rather than military intervention. While China has strong economic interests in the stability of the Strait of Hormuz, it has so far refrained from committing naval forces to any international coalition aimed at protecting shipping lanes. The reluctance reflects broader hesitation among many countries about becoming directly involved in the conflict. Several European governments have expressed caution regarding Washington's request for military assistance. Some leaders argue that participation in naval operations could risk escalating the war further rather than stabilizing the situation. Germany and other European states have indicated that the conflict should not automatically draw NATO into a wider military role in the region. The hesitation among allies highlights the complexity of the crisis. While many nations depend on oil transported through the Strait of Hormuz, they are wary of becoming entangled in a conflict that could spread across the Middle East. Meanwhile, regional tensions continue to rise. Military operations connected to the broader Iran war have expanded beyond the Persian Gulf, with reports of strikes across Iran and growing instability across neighboring countries. The conflict has already caused significant damage to shipping infrastructure and merchant vessels operating near the strait. Several ships have been damaged or abandoned after attacks, and tanker traffic has dropped sharply as shipping companies reassess the risks of entering the area. For global energy markets, the stakes are enormous. The Strait of Hormuz serves as the primary export route for oil produced in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, and Iran. Any prolonged disruption to shipments through the corridor could dramatically affect fuel prices, inflation, and economic growth around the world. Energy analysts warn that even temporary interruptions can trigger price spikes and market volatility. The ripple effects are already being felt across multiple sectors, including shipping, aviation, and manufacturing. Governments around the world are closely monitoring the situation as they assess contingency plans to secure energy supplies. Some countries have begun releasing oil from strategic reserves in an attempt to stabilize markets while the crisis continues. Meanwhile, naval forces across the region remain on high alert as the possibility of further escalation remains real. The Strait of Hormuz has long been considered one of the most strategically sensitive waterways in the world. Control over the corridor has historically given regional powers significant influence over global energy markets. Today, as military confrontation and diplomatic negotiations unfold simultaneously, the waterway has once again become the center of global attention. With tensions still rising and shipping flows at risk, the crisis has quickly transformed from a regional conflict into a major international challenge affecting global trade, diplomacy, and economic stability. For now, the world is watching closely as diplomatic efforts continue. Whether those efforts succeed in preventing further escalation could determine not only the future of the Strait of Hormuz, but also